Good evening, everyone. Happy Saturday. What is going on? How's everybody doing on this Saturday night? How's everybody's weekend going? Shout out to the folks in the chat. Make sure you all hit the like button, hit that subscribe, share this channel out with everybody you know. I would greatly appreciate it. What is going on, everybody? So we are officially in the off season, and free agency has officially begun as of Thursday. So don't expect any big moves or big signings just yet. This isn't like the NFL where as soon as free agency kicks off in the NFL, news starts coming in by every minute. You know what I mean? So right now, this is going to be a period of time where, teams are trying to get a feel for what the current free agents are looking for, what the free agent market is looking like. This is going to be one of those interesting off seasons. As you all know, players who are free agents and who are eligible for a qualifying offer ended up getting a qualifying offer, and there have been many players that have received a qualifying offer. Now, when it comes to the New York Yankees, there was only one player that received a qualifying offer, and that is Trent Grisham. Now, there was much debate whether or not Trent Grisham, if he was going to receive a qualifying offer, would the Yankees give him a qualifying offer? Would they extend a qualifying offer for Trent Grisham? Personally, I was going back and forth. At first, I was saying yes. Then I was saying no. Then I was flip-flopping back and forth, wondering whether or not he was going to get a qualifying offer. Now, there's arguments for both. All right, there's arguments for both. And before I go any further, let me say what's up to the chat real quick, because there's a lot that I have to say about him getting the qualifying offer. It does make sense to me, but before I go any further, let me just say what's up to the chat, because there's a few folks in here. First person in the building, Jonathan, what is up? We got Beagle in the building. Brooklyn's in the house. What's up, Susan? What's going on? Joseph is in the building. Dev is in the building. Cecilia is in the building. What is going on? Who else we got in the building? That's who we got right now in the building. So appreciate all of you being here. Again, make sure you all hit the like button, hit that subscribe, share this channel out with everybody you know. I would greatly appreciate it. So look, I think Trent Grisham getting a qualifying offer makes all the sense in the world to me. I mean, after all, he did have a good season. All right, he did have a good season. You look at his 2025 season, 34 home runs, right? Batting average of 235, had an on-base percentage of 348, slugging of 464, WRC plus of 129. Had a great season. Offensively, was valuable. Defensively, although some of his defensive metrics, when you look at his defensive runs saved and his outs above average, I'm gonna pull those numbers up. I actually had those numbers. Up right now. I'm trying to find them. Bear with me. So, yeah, defensive runs saved for this season was at -11. His outs above average was -2. So those particular numbers defensively were down, but offensively, his numbers this season really good, right? So, like I was saying about his offensive numbers, which I'm going up right now. So, again, slugging 464, right? He had 34 home runs, 235 average, right? WRC plus, which is a big thing that I know a lot of folks like to look at, 129. His numbers were really good. And I do feel that it does make sense for the Yankees to offer him a qualifying offer. The qualifying offer, by the way, is at $22.05 million. So Trent Grisham this season made $5 million. Now, keep in mind, Grisham doesn't have to make a decision right now. He can make that decision later on, right? Or when I say later on, he has to make that decision in 10 days. So November 18th is the date that that all players that have been offered a qualifying offer can accept the qualifying offer or decline. They have to make a decision by November 18th, so he does have 10 days. So I think Grisham ultimately, I think he'll turn down the QO personally. And I see a few other people popped into the chat. Daniel Berry, Michael Yoder, BG, what is up? BG says he played the entire season with a bum hamstring. Given an offseason of rest and healing, he'll be at least an average defensive center fielder next season. True. I think there was some injuries lingering with him. He was dealing with that hamstring. You are correct. And, there's a case that like I said, I do believe that he will turn down the qualifying offer. I think there is a market out there for him. I think there's a team out there that will look for his services in center field. Personally, if there's a contract to be given to Trent Grisham, I think he's going to look for anything, in a 4 or 5 year deal. I mean, after all, he is 29 years old. So, still, relatively young, right? He's not at that age 30 mark yet. He'll be 30 years old come, next year. So I could see a scenario where, he could get, he could get a $100 million deal, or, for 4 years potentially. Right. So I don't think he's going to want to take anything less than $22.05 million a year. I don't think he's going to take anything less than that, but I could see him getting a 4 or 5 year deal where he's getting paid, $23 to $25 million a year. Of course, it's going to determine what the market dictates, and the outfield market, you got a few big names that are free agents, right? The big ones, Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger. I think ultimately, once Kyle Tucker signs, once he signs with whoever it may be, once he signs that contract, I think it's going to really determine what other players are going to look for, what they're going to sign for. Right now, guys like Grisham, obviously, he's not going to get the kind of pay that Kyle Tucker is going to get, but he's going to look to get paid. Ultimately, once again, I do think that it does make sense for Grisham to receive that qualifying offer. He's the only Yankee to receive that QO. I think there will be a team that will look for his services. And Susan says that the Mets were interested. The Mets could be interested. The Mets do need an outfielder. So, the Mets, wouldn't surprise me if the Mets did make an offer, right? I think there will be a few teams out there that'll make an offer for Trent Grisham. He does bring value, with the bat, and he can be beneficial on the field for really any team that is interested. Again, I think he could sign a contract for, the 23 to $25 million range. And keep in mind, the reason why I'm thinking he will decline it is because, yes, he can come back to the Yankees. I think the Yankees like him. Clearly, they offered a qualifying offer. The Yankees like him. He likes the Yankees. He's, had a good 2025. And was also, he was also benefiting the team during 2024, even though he didn't get as much playing time. But, I don't know that he'll take it for 1 year at 22. Here's where I'm going with this. I think in the long term, he wants to look for a team to sign with, because after 2026, there might be a lockout, right? There might be a lockout. The current CBA for Major League Baseball is set to expire on December 1st, 2026. And as I've talked about, there's going to be a conversation, right? There's going to be a conversation about a salary cap. There's owners in baseball that are going to want a salary cap, right? And Hal Steinbrenner apparently is one of them. So I do think that, and not just Hal Steinbrenner, there's other baseball owners that would be in favor of a salary cap. Of course, players are going to fight back on this. So, I do think that I do think that there is going to be a lockout. I think it's inevitable. I think it's going to happen. How long it's going to happen, I don't know. But this ties into what I was talking about with Trent Grisham turning down the qualifying offer from the Yankees, because he's going to want to look for a guaranteed contract. So, especially if there is going to be a potential lockout, I think it'd be smart for players to turn down a QO, right? In Grisham's case, I think it'd be smart for him. Yes, he can come back for a year and get that guaranteed money, but then he'll become a free agent again. But then if there's a lockout for players that are going to be free agents, that could be trouble, right? So, whether Grisham takes a contract in the short term or long term, I mean, you would think he would want, look for a contract for a team to sign him for, 2 or 3 years. So that way, if there is a lockout, he is, his contract is secured. He's going to get paid, right? That's, ultimately, that's what he wants to look for. That's what any player that's going to be a free agent, and especially the ones that are attached to a QO, that's what they're going to look for. So they want to, look for a contract. Now, there might be a couple players that, could accept a QO, but, I think Grisham, personally, I do see him signing a contract, right? And BG says that he'll get 4 years, $60 million from someone, but that equates to $15 million a season. I don't think he would take that at all. I don't think he would take that at all. I think for him to entertain any sort of contract, right? Any money, I think it's got to start. At the least, it's got to start between 70 to 75 million. All right. I think it's got to start at 70 to 75 million, at the very least. But I think that'll go up more. But again, that contract is going to dictate the money that he gets is going to be based on what guys like Kyle Tucker signs for. Once guys like Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, once these guys sign on the dotted line, and once they receive the money from whichever team it may be, then it's going to determine what guys like Trent Grisham is going to sign for. Now, for the Yankees, it's going to be beneficial for them, right? If Grisham does sign with another team, the Yankees will get a draft pick. So that's, they'll receive a draft pick, right? The Yankees, they'll benefit from that perspective. Frank Rivera's in the building. What's up, Frank? He says Yankees probably done it for a draft pick, but it won't matter because they aren't very, very good drafting. Well, here's the thing, Frank. I mean, the thing about the Yankees and drafting players, they're always drafting. They're one of the last teams to draft. So, they always end the season with a winning record. Now, that may not mean much. That may not mean much, but if they had losing records, if they were one of the worst teams in baseball, they would be drafting at the very top. And unfortunately, when teams end up with a losing record, they draft at the very top. They end up getting the best, usually end up getting the best players that are available, right? So the Yankees, they're one of the teams that draft at the very bottom, because they do end up with winning records at the end of at the end of most seasons, right? This is, this season is an example. This is the 32nd year in a row where they ended up with a winning record. So, they got to do what they can with these during these drafts to get the best player possible. So, that's what happens. When you have winning records every season, you don't get the top draft pick. You're not one of the top teams with a top first draft pick. But just to throw that out there. Grisham's agent, that's a good question there, Susan. His agent, let me look that up. I'm just curious to see who his agents, who are his agents, who represents him. So it's definitely not Scott Boras. It looks like it is ISE Baseball. So ISE Baseball, that's the agency that represents Trent Grisham. I'm not familiar with them. I don't know what other players in baseball that they represent, but yes, he is represented by ISE Baseball. So there's your answer right there. BG dropping some contract predictions here. So he says Tucker 10 years, $400 million. Bellinger 6 years, $180 million. Look, I personally, right, I like Cody Bellinger. I like what he's done this season for the Yankees. I think he fit very well with the New York Yankees. There's no doubt about it. Do I think he deserves $30 million a year? I don't, right? And that's not a knock on Bellinger. Personally, I would, if it was me, I would try to offer him $27.5 million a season, whatever that money is going to be. So, I mean, if we're talking 6 years, I'm okay with the 6 years. Okay. I am okay with the 6 years, but for me, I would probably offer him, 165 for 6, which would put him at 6 years, which would put him at $27.5 million. That's the kind of money I would offer him. Or I would do, 175 for 6, right? Which, would put him just a little over 28 million. I think 28 million, to me, that's reasonable. Now, the market might dictate 30 million, right? It's going to be all contingent on what the market says. If the market says 30 million, then that's probably what he's going to get. Of course, Scott Boras being his agent, you could see Scott Boras trying to push further than 6, but I think 6 is more than reasonable. The guy's 30 years old. I think 6 years is reasonable. Would take him to that age 36 season or age 36 year, right? So, 6 years, I'm all for it, right? But 30 million. Again, that's what the market might say, but I think he deserves 27.5 to 28 million. That's what I think. Tucker, $400 million for 10 years, $40 million. Yeah, again, the market might dictate that. The market might say, this is what the market is saying. Personally, again, would Tucker 40 million, 10 years, is he putting up numbers like Aaron Judge is? I mean, that's the question. Does he deserve 40 million a year? I don't know. I have to look at his numbers, right? His numbers from last year, I can tell you right now, don't determine that. And if you pull up the numbers between Bellinger and Cody Bellinger and Kyle Tucker for 2025, their numbers are not too far off from each other. And in some categories, Bellinger did better. All right. Bellinger did better. Grisham's already made 23 million over his career. He's already got security. Right. But so he's going to look for a contract in that range though. Okay. That's what I'm saying. So, he's going to look for, that 23. He's not going to take anything less than 22. I mean, he's looking to get paid, right? He's going to look to get paid. And yeah, I think you were referring to the draft. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how, especially the Orioles, right? They had some losing seasons for a while there. That's why they were able to benefit off of the high draft picks. Did I read the article that says that the Yankees might trade the Martian to get more money to pay Bellinger? Don't know if that's factual. Where did you read the article? I guess that's the question. There's been a lot of chatter, right, during the season and now the offseason, saying that Dominguez could get traded, or Spencer Jones could get traded. It's possible. It's possible. Boris did him and Alonso. Who's him there? There, Susan. Are you talking about Cody Bellinger? Chet says, personally, I will pass on Tucker $400 million. You could get 4 great ball players and have good chemistry. If you could sign him for $400 million, you're lucky. If we get one more player, give Bellinger 30. Yeah, listen, ultimately at the end of the day, I think the Yankees are going to sign Cody Bellinger. That's going to be their target. I think that's going to be their priority. Their priority is going to be Cody Bellinger. And it makes all the sense in the world. All right. Look, the thing is, Cody Bellinger, he makes all the sense in the world. He's going to, especially from an affordable perspective, right? And he's versatile, right? The guy could play anywhere in the outfield. You could put him at first base. So, he could play, he does bring that versatility. He had good success at the plate. He was a contributor for the Yankees. He fit well with the New York Yankees. Okay, so there's no argument that he can, he does fit. There was good chemistry between him and the team, and he does bring value. All right, and he could bring that same value for a lot less, and the Yankees could allocate that money into different areas where they need help. Right. And it's clear as day that they do need help in other areas. There's no doubt about that. OK, so, Brian Cashman did say that the Yankees are going to go to town, whatever that means. But it's all going to depend on what Hal Steinbrenner is going to do. It's all going to depend on what Hal Steinbrenner is going to do. Is Hal Steinbrenner ready to spend? Is he going? How much is he willing to spend? That's the question. All right, we haven't heard from Hal Steinbrenner since the Yankees have been eliminated. We haven't heard from Hal Steinbrenner since the offseason began. Okay, now the owners' meetings, it is coming up. Maybe we hear from him during the owners' meetings. Maybe there is a press conference during the owners' meetings. He does talk to the media. Maybe we get some clarification from him on what his thoughts were about the 2025 New York Yankees. What he plans to do, how much, he may not say how much money he's going to spend, but he could tell us whether or not where he wants his payroll to be. Okay. So with that being said, it might dictate what he's going to let Cashman do. I know a lot of fans want to say, well, what is Cashman going to do? Well, Cashman has a game plan, but and as far as who he wants to go get or who he wants to target, but as far as the money that's going to be spent, that is all on Hal Steinbrenner. Hal Steinbrenner is going to he's the one that gives the okay to Cashman on, hey, here's how much money I'm going to allow you to spend. Go out there and get some guys. Let's try to improve this team. So all eyes are on Hal on that one. What's up, Brad? Brad says Boris is going to have a long offseason, especially if teams hold out on signing his players. Yeah, well, it's he's got a talk. He's got a task. He's got a mission. So if I were Boris, I wouldn't play around too much. All right, I wouldn't play around too much. Frank Rivera says, I would sign Bellinger for his versatility. Yankees have many holes that he can fit in. Exactly. Like I was saying, he has that versatility. If you need to pay money to pay Bellinger or Tucker, you would keep Dominguez and trade Grisham if he accepts the QO. Dominguez is making peanuts. Yeah, Dominguez is making peanuts. They could always trade Grisham, absolutely, if he decides to accept a qualifying offer. The Yankees could turn around and they could trade him. Hopefully, try to get some bullpen arms, because the Yankees desperately need some arms there. So ultimately, if he does accept a qualifying offer, yeah, you could turn around and trade him, get some pitching back. All right. I agree here. I don't have interest in Alonso. And last year, whenever he was a free agent, I had no interest in Pete Alonso whatsoever. And no, it's not because I dislike Pete Alonso. I don't think he's a bad player or anything like that. But the Yankees, I don't think Pete Alonso. I don't. He's a good player. I just don't think he deserves the money that he's looking for. And apparently, he's looking for 7 years. That's a no for me. That's a no for me. And on top of that, he comes with a qualifying offer. I don't know that the Yankees are going to sign anybody that is attached to a qualifying offer. Again, when you sign a player to a qualifying offer, you forfeit 2 draft picks, and you gotta forfeit some money on top of that. So I don't know that the Yankees are willing to do that. All right, but I don't think guys like Pete Alonso are not in the works. Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. Even though, yes, Hal Steinbrenner, a couple of weeks ago said he likes Pete Alonso, and all of a sudden fans went a little nuts. I just don't think that the Yankees aren't going to sign him. That's right. Alonso doesn't have a qualifying offer. Never mind. I take back what I said, because he was given one last year, I want to say, right, Jonathan? Because he was a free agent last year. So I totally spaced on that. It's like Cody Bellinger. He's a free agent, but he's not. He's ineligible for a QO because Bellinger got that with the Cubs. So Chet says Cody Bellinger is a fan favorite. I heard through an interview. Now he wants to pay payroll $275 million. That's very hard to do unless you're a young stud. So you're saying he's looking for $275 million? Is that what I'm reading? Am I reading that correct? You're talking about Fairbanks, the bullpen arm. Yeah, the Rays declined his option. He's a free agent, so maybe the Yankees could potentially look into a guy like him. Yankees don't need to add another 200 strikeouts to the lineup. I mean, and that's just it, man. It's just like, we don't need more strikeout guys, right? We need guys that are going to hit the ball for contact. The Yankees have enough of that. Yankees have enough guys that can hit for power. That's, I'm all, yes, 100%. They need to get they need to get a couple of contact bats to this lineup. Because, I'm all for the home runs. I enjoy the home runs, but enough for hitting for power and home runs, man. I mean, yes, those are great. Which, by the way, the Yankees did get a Silver Slugger award as a team, which was great to see. But they do need to add some contact bats, and they need to make contact a big thing. They need to make that a priority, big time. So yeah. What's up, Space? Space says, yeah, Alonso and Bregman got 3-year contract with opt-outs that they are using after their first years. Yeah, and you expected those guys to opt out of their contracts, but a lot of teams are going to be, reluctant on, offering them long-term contracts. So, Pete Alonso, in my opinion, I'd be surprised if he got a 7-year contract. I mean, he's going to have to. He might have to settle for a 5 or 6. I don't see 7. Chet says the Yankees are going to go after Michael King. Hal wants a payroll of 200. Oh, he wants a payroll of $275 million. Got it. Yeah, like I said, with Michael King, he comes with a qualifying offer. I mean, if he wasn't attached to a qualifying offer, I would probably agree with you. I thought, before he was offered the QO, I was saying the Yankees could be in on him. Yankees do need pitching. There's no doubt about it. It wouldn't hurt for them to get a starting pitcher because, again, I know Cole has been doing his work, right? He's been recovering. There's been a couple of bullpen sessions with him, but is he going to be ready on time? And also, Carlos Rodon is going to miss the first couple of weeks. So, are the Yankees, are they going to be looking into the pitching market, right? Because there is a possibility that they could, trade away a guy like Luis Hill, maybe Will Warren, but I see Luis Hill being a potential trade piece during this offseason. Now, the Yankees are probably going to be pretty active in the trade market as far as signing players. Bellinger, we know, but who else are they going to be interested in? And how much money, again, is Hal going to spend? Brad says Fairbanks has a medical problem that isn't affected by cold weather. It might be an issue in October. And that's the thing. Fairbanks is a good pitcher, but cold weather and Fairbanks, they don't mix. So, yeah, if the Yankees are in the postseason, him pitching in October might be a bit of an issue, so that, there could be some drawback there. Susan says, didn't Correa have a medical issue and he did just fine? So we were stupid enough to sign Montas. Yeah, well, and Montas is not going to pitch in the 2026 season for the Mets, and he accepted his club option. So now he's going to get paid to not play. How wonderful. Alonso and Bregman signed bailout contracts last season, as teams know Boris's playbook, and they're not falling for it. No, they're not. Susan says we will lose Volpe for a while. Can't depend on Caballero as an everyday shortstop. So, yeah, I mean, this is where, I think the Yankees need to look for, a bat that can, play alongside Caballero while Volpe's out. Although I could see a scenario where, with Caballero getting playing time, with Volpe being out, Oswaldo Cabrera is going to, make his comeback, right? So, he looks like he's recovered from his ankle injury. So maybe he does, maybe he fills in that role somehow. I don't know. Montas was a trade, Susan. As for Correa, it was a broken ankle that is healed, and the doctor believed that yeah, for sure. And Montas was a trade. And Correa, I mean, think about it. He, reached a deal with some of these teams. He couldn't pass their physical. So, I mean, that was a problem at the time, right? So, the CBA is coming up after the 26th season. True. Yeah, Cabrera is going to return. Oswaldo will be back. Cabrera is not a full-time shortstop, but I'm saying, there could always be a scenario where, they could slide, Caballero to third base. I mean, he is a utility guy, right? So he could play pretty much anywhere in the infield except for first base, and he plays the outfield. So, Cabrera is going to come back. So, that could be their extra bat. And Cabrera was actually he was actually having a good 2025 season up until the injury that he suffered, unfortunately, which is which was sad to see, because when he went down, it did affect the team a little bit. So hopefully he comes back. Hopefully he doesn't have any injuries and he could play. He could be injury free. Even if Volpe comes back, can you count on him? I mean, look, I'm not here to bash Volpe, right? But we saw 3 seasons of him. I'm not sold on him. I'm really not. I think the Yankees, they need to go in a different direction in the future, right? Now, and they probably, and I think they will. Honestly, look, they have George Lombard Jr. down there in the minors. He's not ready to come up yet. But also, if you looked at this past draft, the Yankees did draft a bunch of infielders. They did draft a bunch of shortstop. To me, that's kind of telling. And, when the question about Volpe was asked about him being the starting shortstop, right, to Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman said that it was either Cashman or Boone, right? It was one of those guys that said that, that he is in the mix. Now, normally, if a guy is guaranteed to get, the Yankees are gonna say, right, they're gonna say that, oh yeah, this guy's a lock. He's going to get most of the starts. But this time around, they said he was in the mix. Now, could it be, that they didn't want to say nothing yet, and that he's going to get all the starts when the season begins and he's healthy. I don't know. Could it be a cover up? I don't know. Right. But to me, it was a little telling when they said that he is in the mix. So, what does that mean? Right. So normally they would say, yeah, he'll get most of the starts once he's back, once he's healthy. They would have said something along those lines. But this time around, they said he's in the mix. So to me, that tells me they're not completely sold on him. All right. They're not completely sold on him. So, only time will tell. Only time will tell. What's up, Yankee Kyle? Yankee Kyle's in the building. So, what's going on? And real quick, folks, just make sure if you're watching, if you haven't yet, hit that like. If this is the first time you're watching, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. We're slowly closing in on 2,200. So let's try to get there as quickly as we possibly can. Any support, it does mean the world to me. So thank you all very, very much. Oh, trust me, Susan. I definitely know your opinion on Volpe. Yeah, in the mix is very telling. I think it is. I mean, again, under normal circumstances, they would say, yeah, Volpe will get the majority of the starts, right? They could have said that, right? They could have said that. They could have said Volpe gets the majority of the starts once he's healthy, right? But right now we got Caballero. But anyway. But look, kind of circling back to Trent Grisham, all right? You could go about to see 50-50 with Grisham, all right? Would it at the time? I was thinking maybe the Yankees weren't going to offer Grisham a QO because they're afraid that he would have taken it at $22.05 million. I mean, why not for 1 year? Why not? I mean, he got paid $5 million this season, so it's about it's a little over $17 million jump, right? It's a difference of $17 million, but again, I don't know that he's going to take it. I really don't. I mean, if he does, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, he has 10 days to decide whether or not he wants to take it. What's up, Acevedo? What's going on? But if he does take it, it's only for a year. But then he'll go back out into the market again. But then again, I think that it would be smart for him to see if a team will offer him a contract. I mean, even in the short term, just again, because of the fact that there could be a lockout after the 2026 season because the current CBA expires on December 1st. That's what I think. So, and Brad says if Grisham takes the QO, then probably Bellinger won't be back, and that could be bad. Then you're looking at an outfield of, Dominguez, Grisham, Aaron Judge. I don't know about you guys. I wouldn't be comfortable with that outfield. Then where does that put Spencer Jones? Right now, where does that put Spencer Jones? Because then Spencer Jones, yeah, he's gonna get his chance to showcase himself for spring training. I mean, this was a guy that could was talked about, potentially being on the roster for 2026. What happens then? What happens then? So, what is that? Is that the outfield that we're comfortable with? I certainly have my reservations. That's for sure. I definitely do have my reservations. Acevedo says, I don't think any other team will take the chance to give up a draft pick. But the thing is, Acevedo, it's not just Grisham. A lot of those guys are going to be, there's a lot of guys that are attached to a QO, right? I mean, but if we're talking about Grisham though, I think there will be a team that'll take a gamble on him. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he accepts the qualifying offer. But it would be smart of him to try and look for a team that'll offer him a contract, even if it's in the short term. Yankee Kyle says the Yankees need to strike while the iron is hot this winter. I hope the Yankees get some good starting pitching and some good bats. I mean, as far as starting pitching goes, I think they'll look for one. They need to do something about the bullpen. The bullpen is where they really is what they really need to work on as far as pitching goes, because the bullpen was very, very up and down this season. There was not a lot of consistency with the bullpen, so they really need to figure out the bullpen. That is one area that big time they need to improve on. All right. Brad says Yankees were over the threshold, so they might actually lose the comp pick like they did from losing Soto last year. Susan says we need Bellinger more than Grisham. I think Grisham will go to another team. He may sign earlier than we think if he gets a fair offer. Yeah, I don't know that he's going to get an offer right now. Honestly, teams are going to wait it out. So, I think once the winter meetings go down, then we're going to see signings happen. But I think these guys are going to wait. Honestly, these guys are going to wait till guys like Kyle Tucker and Trent Grisham, Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger. Once these guys sign, especially when Kyle Tucker signs, then the rest of the guys, it's gonna fall. Guys are gonna fall off right after Tucker. Then it's gonna determine whether or not what kind of money the rest of these guys are gonna get. They're all gonna wait for Tucker first, though. Tucker is gonna be the first one to sign. Once he signs, and then boom, we'll see what the rest of the market looks like. All right. Does Trent take the qualifying offer? I mean, I'm going to predict no, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised, right? I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think he takes it. I think if he's smart, I think he looks for a team to offer him a contract, because again, there could be a lockout after 2026. You need that financial security. Just saying. Yeah, I mean, the bullpen market, I mean, who's out there? Who's available? I mean, the Yankees might have to be creative with the trades. I think that's where they're gonna really have to get creative is in the trade market. Space says they could sign Ryan Helsley as an example for the pen after the Mets fixed his tell. He was pretty solid the last few weeks of the season. Could be. I mean, Helsley comes to mind. Finnegan, right? I believe he's another free agent. Could the Yankees look into these guys? Maybe. Trading Dominguez will be a Yankees' big mistake. The team that gets him will give him a real chance. He'll break out. Well, as of right now, again, the Yankees say a lot of things. As of right now, they're saying he is going to be the starting left fielder next season. He's going to get more playing time. But, that could just be a thing of hyping him up. Kind of like what they did with Caleb Durbin last year. They hyped him up, and then the next thing, we thought, okay, maybe this guy's going to be the starting second baseman. They ended up trading him. But Dominguez, I don't want to see him go. I want to, I don't think his rookie season was bad, right? I think his first year as a Yankee wasn't too bad. I liked what he did. I did. Okay. I liked what he did, but I personally don't want to see him get traded, but there could be a scenario that he does. I'm just saying, but time will tell. Time will tell. Yeah, I mean, after the GM meetings and during the GM meetings, I mean, we're gonna start seeing players start signing contracts with whichever team, Susan says with Boris clients, they tend to sign late. Depends on who it is, But there's no reason why, in my opinion, there's no reason why guys like Bregman and Alonso should be signing late, But just like last season, they might have to wait it out, which I think would be a mistake, because there's not going to be a lot of teams that are going to offer them the years that these guys are looking for. Well, if he takes the offer, it seems like he's doubting himself. If he declines, another team can pick him up. Well, it's not a thing of doubting himself, but it's just taking the the guaranteed route, the safe route, and getting that $25 million or $22 million. We'll end up with the Mets, and he very well could. He could go across town to Queens. I wouldn't be surprised. Pick because over the threshold, signing free was penalized by. True. Okay. Boris will try to get his best to get teams back load, and that's what it might take there, Acevedo. I mean, if there's a year where you got to get your guys signed, this is the year to do it. So I like what he did, but without consistent time, it makes no sense to keep him. Well, again, what Boone is saying is true, that he's going to get most of the playing time. He's going to get more playing time, so it'll be more consistent this time around. Again, time will tell. Chris P, what's up? I haven't seen you in a while. He says Yankees need 2 big bats, a starting pitcher, and some bullpen arms. My top targets would be Amai for starting pitcher. He hasn't been posted yet, but I'm assuming he's going to get posted at some point. Murakami, folks, if I'm sure you all heard, he's been posted, so teams can start getting in contact with him. Bichette or Okamoto for third. Bellinger or Tucker, yeah, I wouldn't want Bichette at third. Let's just say if the Yankees were looking into Bo Bichette, it's either shortstop or second base. Okamoto, I'd be down for Okamoto for third base. I mean, they got Ryan McMahon over there right now. Bellinger or Tucker, I want Bellinger. I want Bellinger. I do. If we keep Dominguez, what do we do with Jones? That's the $1 million question. That's the $1 million question. I mean, the Yankees, there's been a few occasions where they could have traded Spencer Jones. They never did. I mean, do they trade him this time around? This is going to be one of the most interesting off seasons, right? The Yankees could go in a bunch of different directions. We'll see what direction that they go in. One thing that they're not going to do is rebuild. That's a guarantee. And I bring that up because there was a question asked to Brian Cashman recently about potentially rebuilding, and he shot that down immediately. He said, "Yeah, the Yankees are not rebuilding." Remember, not all teams will offer much because of the CBA. Right. So it might have to be short-term contracts. So, that way players are secure. They want to look for that security. Okay. The thing is, Grisham is that in his career, he's still only batted .235, career .218. No, thank you. Right. Again, he got a QO. Right, I think there will be a team. There's a market out there. I think there's a market out there for him. He does bring some value. All right, I mean, after all, the guy is a Gold Glover. The guy could. His bat this season was great. Did some great things offensively. I know the .235 is not attractive, but I mean, you look at it. Some of his other numbers. His other numbers look really good offensively. Such as his home runs, WRC plus, right? Those look great. I think there will be a team out there that'll sign him. What's up, Ocean View Coffee Shop? He says Trent is perfect for Yankee Stadium during regular season. Right. So, but I think he'll add value with another team too. Acevedo says I preferred him to go young, play Jones and Dominguez with Judge out there, or sign Tucker and move Judge to left field. Dominguez back in center field. But the problem with Dominguez in center field, the Yankees don't like him in center field, man. I mean, for one reason or another, they don't like him in center field. I wouldn't mind him playing center field. I'd rather. I mean, I don't see how he's better in left field personally, right? But if he plays winter ball, which is something that Boone had talked about, he could play winter ball, get some reps there, get some extra playing time. Okay, Judge is right field, no doubt. I don't think the Yankees are going to sign Tucker though. I mean, they'll check in on him, but I don't think they're going to sign him. So you're saying no to Bellinger there, Acevedo? Well, if they trade for Jones, it's got to be worthwhile. It's the same thing with Dominguez. If you're going to trade these guys, it's got to be something for worthwhile. You're not going to just trade them just to trade them. Yankees can't rebuild and waste Judge and Cole's win. My point. So exactly, Chris P. They're definitely not gonna. They're not rebuilding. Dominguez left field, Bellinger center, Judge and right. I mean, that's an ideal. That's probably the idea there. Just thinking maybe the Dodgers sign. They very well can, and I think they're probably in the market. They're definitely going to be in the market for outfield. I wouldn't be surprised if they sign Tucker and defer money. I mean, they do that with a lot of their guys. I'd probably trade Dominguez, get Belly, play Belly, Judge and Jones in outfield. Again, maybe that could be another scenario. Lewis saying Dominguez probably getting traded, Jones in center, Tucker in left. It's possible. Yankees got to get into the Japanese market. There are too many good Japanese players coming over here to continue. See them. Yeah. The West Coast is especially with the Dodgers, man, it's just it's just an attractive place, especially with Ohtani. You want with guys like Murakami, maybe it's a hot take, but I see him signing with the Seattle Mariners. I do. I personally do see him signing with the Seattle Mariners. I think that's quite a possibility because Josh Naylor is a free agent. So I mean, ultimately they're going to look for a first baseman. I think the Mariners could be in the market for a guy like Murakami or even Okamoto, honestly, because Okamoto plays third, he plays first, plays the outfield. They could be in the market for either one of those guys. All right, but look, the outfield, the outfield is something that the Yankees need to figure out. There's no doubt about it. What that outfield is going to look like, we don't know. We know Judge is going to be out there. That's a lock. That's a lock. And as of right now, they're saying Dominguez, right, is going to get more playing time. As of right now, that could very well change. Dominguez has turned out to be overhyped prospect, Frank Rivera says. Not a 5'2 player as advertised. Can't switch hit. Not a good fielder or thrower. Can't hit the power. That's it. Not that bug a trade trip. Understood. I don't know, man. I think Dominguez. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think he's a good player. I would like to see him get some more playing time. We saw some of the stuff that he did. I felt comfortable with him, but I want to see more. Acevedo says Bellinger will command over 7 years. We can't have that. And offering the QO to Grisham was a mistake. Teams won't give up a draft unless it's the Dodgers. Well, Bellinger, I don't think deserves 7 years. 7, 8 years. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not signing up for that. I wouldn't sign up for that personally. 6 years. I think 6 years is what he deserves at the most. 6 years. There's no way I wouldn't give him 7 or 8. Personally, Jimmy Bernard, Mr. 2000. And I say Mr. 2000 because he was my 2000 subscriber. Shout out to Jimmy Bernard. What's up? He says, what's good, everyone? There were reports Dominguez was going to be traded to the Twins for closer Duran. It fell through. Don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with that deal either. I don't know what happened with that deal, man. I couldn't tell you. But the fact that they were looking to trade Dominguez, I mean, tells me that they could still trade him during the offseason. Chris P says Dominguez is not overhyped at all. He showed he can hit at the big league level. He showed off his speed. The power will come with more experience. Yeah, I mean, that's what it boils down to. You got to give the guy a little bit more playing time, right? So I want to see it. I want to see him get more playing time. You know, I do want to see him get more playing time. But, you know, he's got, you know, I'm not going to go off of 1 year of any rookie, right? You know, it's you know, you gotta manage your expectations, man, and then you got to see what he does. You got to see what these guys do in their second year. Yeah, Bellinger's 30 years old. He'll be 31 next year. Davey Hamadani, what's up, man? He says, why extend Grisham versus Bellinger? Do you have an answer on that? Why? I'm not extending Grisham. Oh, you're talking about a qualifying offer? Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the qualifying offer. Bellinger is ineligible to get a qualifying offer because he already had one when he was a member of the Cubs. That's why. So, because when he was with the Chicago Cubs, there was an opt out after each year. He opted out after the first year. Cubs gave him a QO, and therefore the Yankees can't offer him a QO because he's ineligible to get a qualifying offer. I'm assuming that's what you're asking, which your answer says yes, you were, and you says okay, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so he's ineligible to get another QO. So, but yeah, no, so, you know, I think, you know, listen, I think the Yankees giving, again, Grisham a QO, I think, you know, they like him. They were happy to give him a qualifying offer. They didn't do it for anybody else. And yeah, I think it was smart for the Yankees not to extend that. But yeah, I do think that you know, I do think that he'll get a contract somewhere. Yeah, maybe, Davey. Brad says, I thought Bellinger got a QO after leaving the Dodgers. I thought it was with the Cubs. I mean, I didn't think I don't know that the Dodgers gave him a qualifying offer. I don't recall that. Actually, look, it's right here. So he didn't receive one from the Yankees, right? We know that. But just a quick search. He signed a 3-year, $80 million deal with the Cubs, which included opt-outs after each year. Bellinger is now eligible to negotiate a new deal in free agency. So he received one from the Cubs after the 23 season. Yeah, the QO was with the Cubs. I just wanted to make sure. Because I read that at a previous time too. What is up, Dave? What is going on? It was the Cubs, guys. It was the Cubs. Anthony sucks batting lefty on his first 3 weeks, and his major analytics told Cora is not playing. Are you talking about Roman Anthony? Yeah, he had opt-outs after each season there, Jonathan. So the Cubs extended that opt-out, or the qualifying offer. Mark had a breaking record game, 4 home runs. Yeah, I mean, you know, man, I'm not gonna try and say Dominguez is gonna have a breakout career year like, you know, players from the past. I mean, you know, I want to see Dominguez, you know, turn out to be, you know, the player that he needs to be. The player, I want him to just create his own legacy. I want him to be the best that he can be, right? And I say that about any player that's, a rookie or a prospect. I respectfully, I try not, I stay away from the whole comparison thing from like players from the past. That's just me personally, right? Because I just want these guys to create their own legacy at the end of the day, right? So, that's what I want. Dominguez will be overhyped like Volpe. I think there's a little bit more, to me, there's a little bit more promise with Dominguez, I think. The overhype with Volpe, a lot of, I can't speak for everybody else. I can't speak for all of you in the chat. I personally didn't really buy into the whole hype about Volpe. I was just like, let's just wait and see what happens. With Dominguez, with all the hype, I was, I felt like, yeah, Dominguez has potential, but let's just see what he can do. Let's just see what he can do. Let's see what he can do. I don't think we've I don't think we've seen, clearly, in my opinion, we definitely haven't seen enough of Dominguez yet. We got to see more playing time from him, right? Let's see what happens. All right. What's up, Aiden? What's going on? Now, let's check the poll here real quick. Let's check the poll. Let's see what folks have voted for. So 36 votes. Appreciate it. 40 votes. Excuse me, 40 votes. So thank you all for voting. And 60% of you said that it does make sense for Trent Grisham to receive the QO. Yep. Brad says 23-24 offseason. Yeah, exactly. He opted out after the 23 season. That's when the Cubs offered him the QO, in which he turned down. So yes indeed. But yeah, I wanted to go live real quick. I don't want to take away from everybody's weekend, everybody's Saturday night. I know you guys are may have some other plans, but I wanted to go live, right? I meant to go live earlier in the week. I just didn't have the time, but I wanted to talk about, if it made sense for Trent Grisham to receive a qualifying offer. I do think that, it does make sense, because I do think that there is a market for Grisham. I think there will be a team that signs him. Dodgers, right? I mentioned, we talked about the Mets. I mean, those are two teams that come to mind for sure that could sign Trent Grisham. But there is a market out there for him. There is going to be a market for the outfield, for any, for a lot of these guys. So, but there's a market out there for Grisham. I do believe that. I really do. Davey says, who's going to be the starting first baseman? Yankees, Ben Rice, and Murakami. The Yankees, I don't think they're going to be in on Murakami. Personally, I don't really want the Yankees to go in on Murakami. If there is a bat that I want them to go after in the Japanese market, I'd rather them go after Okamoto. Personally, I don't really want Murakami, but that's just me. But we'll talk more about that, folks. Again, during the off season, I'm not going to be live as often, but I'll go live if there's something to go live about, especially when it pertains to the New York Yankees. I'll definitely go live. If there's like news that comes out, I'll go live, stuff like that, right? Of course, if news comes out, if it's something worthwhile to talk about, I'll go live. We'll talk about it. All right. And we can have a conversation about it, have a discussion. Just to throw it out there. But yeah, this the off season. It's gonna be a long off season, right? There's not gonna be a lot of action. A lot of the action is gonna go down probably in the middle of the winter meetings, after the winter meetings. So look out for that. The owners' meetings is coming up pretty soon. So if Hal Steinbrenner happens to speak, talks to the media, talks to the press, talks to the public, hopefully he does, because I would love to hear what he has to say. We haven't heard from him. Apparently, he's upset about or frustrated how the season went down. I still want to hear from him. I want to hear what he has to say. All right. Yeah. And Davey says, go live for the GM meetings. That's my game plan. I do want to go live for the GM meetings. Go live and give you like up to date. Like I think that would be pretty cool. I do want to do that. Do I think we're gonna have a 2027 season? I know it's way too early to predict. I think the 2027 season will happen, but I think there's gonna be a late start. That's what I think. I hope I'm wrong. But we'll see what happens when that time comes around. First base will be safe for Judge if we sign Tucker. Yeah, could be the case. I know he's got that. I know the elbow. I know he doesn't need surgery, but I'm still a little wary about the whole elbow thing and the Yankees and injuries. Man, it's like, sometimes we don't always sometimes we're not always told. Just saying. But that's a whole nother can of worms. But anyway, folks. I'm gonna let you all go. I do appreciate every single one of you being here. Thank you all for the support. Thank you all for the love. It is greatly appreciated. If you haven't yet, hit that like button on the way out. If you're watching this on the rerun, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you're new and you're watching for the first time. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's continue growing this channel. It does mean the world to me. And share this channel out. Spread the word. Let's try to let people know about the Strike Zone. I would greatly appreciate it. And like I said, when I go live, just hit that notification bell. That way you know I'm going live. And hopefully I will see you all later. Hopefully I see you all for more live streams and we can have conversations like this. And one quick last comment. Judge can play for DH in 2 seasons when Stanton's gone, sign Belly. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think that's what might happen. I mean, Stanton's under contract for this season, next season, and then the 2028 season, I believe, is a club option, which I think the Yankees will probably not exercise that option until there's a $10 million buyout there. So keep in mind, too, the Marlins are kicking in for his contract for this season and the season after. And if the Yankees were to exercise his club option, they would kick in money for that. So last 3 years of his contract. So, but there'll be more. We'll get into that stuff at a later time. But folks, once again, thank you all very much. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will go live again at some point. Don't know when, but just keep the notification bell on. I hope to see you all soon. And one last time, let's look at this poll. And 41 votes. I'll go ahead and end the poll. And 61% of you said that Trent Grisham does get a QO, or it did make sense for him to get a QO. So sounds good. But once again, folks, have a great night, everyone. What's up, Robert? I'm logging off, dude. I'm sorry. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you all very much. And I will see you all next time. And let's go Yankees.